All right, welcome to our 2023 Active Transportation Challenge workshop put on by WTA, Westside Transportation Alliance. That's me. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it, and let me know if you can't. So, as I said before, this meeting is being recorded, and so I'll distribute the slides and the recording after we're done here. And go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat and say who you are, who your employer is, what's your role. Did you know that today is International Pizza Cake Day? If you don't know what a pizza cake is, it's basically a stack of pizzas that you slice like a cake, which may or may not sound appetizing, but that's the holiday that came up today. So have you ever had a pizza cake? If you want to say in the chat, have you tried it? Have you made one? Did you like it? I would try it. It seems like a lot, though. Anyway, introduce yourself in the chat. And while you do that, I'm going to talk about who WTA is, just in case you're not familiar. So we are the Westside Transportation Alliance, or WTA, and we are a membership-based transportation management association, or TMA, and we deliver customized programs and services in partnership with employers and public agencies, that's you, in order to increase transportation options usage in Washington County and the region. And by transportation options, we mean pretty much anything besides driving alone. So bike, walk, bus, carpool, all that good stuff, telework. Our work is made possible with support from Metro and the Federal Transit Administration. And I mentioned we're a TMA, and broadly, a TMA is a group that helps facilitate the movement of people and goods within an area. And like I said, we focus on commutes, and we focus on sustainable modes of transportation, and we focus mostly in Washington County, and also some work outside Washington County, but all within the Portland metro region. Some other local examples include Go Lloyd, which does similar work to us, but they're in the Lloyd district in Portland, and Explore Washington Park, which helps people get around the Oregon Zoo area. And here's all our members. So thanks for being a member. Hopefully you see yourself on there. And if you know someone who wants to become a member, just refer them to me, and we'd be happy to have them. Okay, so let's talk about the Active Transportation Challenge. So it's running May 1st through 31st. Which is coming right up pretty soon. And this is how it works. It's held on the Get There Connect platform, which hopefully you've used before, but if you haven't, it's getthereoregon.org. And like I say, I'll send out these slides later, and I have some links on there. And hopefully you got my emails with some more information and the Team Captain packet, and that also has links in it. So like I say, it runs all month long. It takes, you probably remember the Bike More Challenge or the Move More Challenge. This takes the place of that, since those aren't happening anymore. And so WTA decided to keep that going with our Active Transportation Challenge. So it's similar to that. We try and make it really easy for everyone to participate. Any active transportation modes count, so that's bike, e-bike, scooter, walk, and skate are the options in Get There, so those all count. And then all trip types are eligible, so commuting, errands, recreation, anything, log them, and they count. Since it's an Active Transportation Challenge, we're not including public transit, but if you walk to the bus or like bike to the train, definitely count that walk or bike or whatever, and those will definitely count. This is open to anyone who lives or works in Washington County, and as long as you're logging trips on this platform, you're automatically entered. And as long as you put your work or your home zip code is somewhere in Washington County, you're also automatically in. So like I say, we're trying to keep it easy. You can also form a team. That's optional, but definitely encouraged. We've had a lot of teams in the past from WTA member workplaces, and it's really fun just to, have a little friendly competition between everybody. You can even make like sub-teams between your departments if you want. And you can join or form a team at bit.ly/ATChallenge2023. We have prizes, as always. So we have both weekly and end of challenge raffle prizes. So we'll be doing random drawings each week and at the end of the month. And people who are employed by WTA members and also frontline workers get increased chances to win. And that'll be a choice of prize items that we'll send to you. We have water bottles, we have like bike lights, like reflective gear, things like that. We also have awards at the end of the challenge. So we've got first, second, and third place for most trips logged, and that'll be a choice of e-gift cards. We use this website called Give Get Local, and it's pretty much a list of a lot of local businesses, and you can pick one of those and we'll send you a gift card. And we also have bonuses for frontline workers. So if your job requires you to be on site all the time and you're a frontline worker, we have $10 gift cards if you sign up and you log at least one eligible trip. So you got to let us know that you're a frontline worker by filling out our form at bit.ly/WTA frontline. And I'm happy to share that after too. Like I say, we have a WTA league. This is for all the teams that are made at WTA member organizations. And we have trophies. And last year, Washington County won, so maybe you can unseat them or maybe not. But it's, you know, it's a nice trophy that maybe you can get at the end of it and show off to everybody. And don't forget to create your team at this website and invite your coworkers. Okay, so that's the basics of how the challenge works. And you may have figured out, you know, the goal of this and the goal of pretty much most of what we do is behavior change. So we're trying to get people out of their cars into more active modes, and behavior change is hard. So I thought I'd go over the basics, and I feel like having this context helps with employee engagement, helps us understand what's going on in everybody's brains when we're trying to get into a new mode, which is actually really interesting, I think. So this fun graphic is the trans-theoretical model of change, which is a lot of big words, but it's basically the steps you go through when you're changing a habit or forming a habit or letting go of a habit. And habits are hard to break. Behavior is really hard to change. And so I always say give yourself grace when things don't work out perfectly, because they're not going to, and that's okay. And this is not like a one-way thing. We move backward and forward on it all the time as we try and change our behavior. And it's also totally fine, you know, especially with commuting, if the weather's different, if you're not feeling good, whatever, it's totally fine to not do the same thing every single day. We're not sticklers about you have to ride your bike every day. It's all about options. You can do, you know, choose what works for you that day. And so starting in the upper left here, we have pre-contemplation. That's the first step. And that is, I think the name is a little misleading, honestly, because that's like you're not aware of anything that you want to change or need to change. You're happy in your life right now, and you're not even thinking about doing anything differently. You're like totally happy. And then maybe at some point you move into a contemplation stage where you're aware that, you know, a different way of doing things is out there, that maybe it has some benefits. You're not, you know, you haven't started making any plans or anything. You just like know about it. You're just thinking about it. And then at some point you might move into preparation, in which you have decided that you are going to take action. You're going to change something, and maybe you're, you know, looking into a bike that you want to buy, or you're planning your route, or you're looking at bus routes, or whatever. So you're making plans, like for, in order to take action at some point. And then, hopefully, you're taking action. And this, I feel like, is the hardest one. So I feel like once you actually do the thing, you should really, like, reward yourself. Just doing something for the first time is, like, a big deal. So that's action. So you're, like, you're doing the thing, which is awesome. And then hopefully you keep doing the thing, and you're in maintenance, and that's your new habit. So congratulations, which is awesome. And then at some point, you might stop doing the habit for reasons that are good or bad or neutral or whatever. It might be, you know, winter again, and you don't want to ride your bike in the winter, which, same. So at some point, they call it relapse, which I think has negative connotations, but I don't find it as negative. It's just at some point you might stop, and then you might get back on the wheel again, where you decide to do it. You might, you know, like I said, you go back and forth, and you learn every time. In the middle of it, there's a little spiral that says learn from each relapse. So all of this is to say that this is what everyone goes through. and this is how we learn to change our behavior. Well, first of all, I circled preparation and action because I feel like this is kind of what we're looking at when we're doing the active transportation challenge, because it's spring, supposedly. At some point, maybe it'll stop raining, and so maybe we want to, we haven't been outside a lot before, and we're, hopefully getting back into some active habits. And then action. So I feel like we're concentrating on preparation, action, maybe maintenance, but that's something to keep in mind. And here's some strategies for each point in this little wheel. So pre-contemplation, like I said, you're not necessarily aware of anything that you want to change, and if you want to make people aware of something that they might want to be doing different, you can have some awareness campaigns. In contemplation, you can address some barriers and infrastructure, because in contemplation, that's where you're really going to be thinking of all the reasons not to do something. So you might be thinking, like, it's raining, or like I'm tired, or I don't have the gear, or whatever. You have a lot of reasons not to do something. And so getting rid of those reasons and those barriers is a great way to move people through contemplation and towards preparation, in which we can give people free tools and gear and freebies that are useful for their new commute, and maybe assist them with some route planning, all of which we do. We're happy to help with. And then once people take action, we really want to reward them, because, like I say, it's really hard just to do something for the first time. And so if we reward, we set off some happy chemicals in your brain. You did it. Good job. And then hopefully that'll give people a little push to get into maintenance. And then once people are like regularly doing it, we also want to reward people who are like doing this behavior all the time that we encourage. That's when like champion programs or like leadership programs can come into play. Like you can have like mentors, commute buddies, things like that. And then if people are stopping doing the behavior, we want to know why, so we can take surveys and get feedback, and figure out what's working and what's not. So anyway, that's all what's going on in people's brains when we're trying to get into a new commute mode. And so I have some tips just to keep in mind yourself, to spread the word as people are doing this challenge. I find the most useful thing in my life is to, while you have the motivation to be changing something, plan for when you won't. So, like, I know I'm not a morning person, and so in the morning I'm tired, and I don't want to get out of bed, and I don't want to, like, put on a bunch of gear so I can get on my bike. And so in order to do that, I can do things like plan my route ahead of time. I can try it out on a non-work day where it's, like, no pressure if I just, do it for fun, so that when things go wrong, it's okay. I'm not going to be late for work or anything. Set things out the night before. You can put things that you don't want to forget so they are literally in your way when you need to leave. Like put your bag like in front of your door, or like if you need your keys to leave, put your keys like on your lunch in your fridge so that you can't leave without grabbing your lunch if you want to remember that. You can make a commute buddy, ask for advice when you run into trouble. And like I said before, maybe don't try a new commute on a day where it's like a high pressure. If you have like important meeting first thing in the morning and it's like raining and you're biking for the first time, it might be a little more stressful than you want it to be. Or maybe, the challenge motivates you. It's up to you. But basically, like I say at the top, anticipate the excuses you'll make for yourself and try and remove as many of those barriers as possible. I also find that trying to change my mindset is helpful. So instead of seeing something as like, a setback or like, being stressed about something, look at it as a challenge that you can overcome. So even if it's hard, you'll feel really good when you accomplish it. Rain, we've been getting a lot of rain lately, and it's good because it keeps our area lush and green. The sound is relaxing. It's actually, like, once you start biking in the rain, it's not as bad, or I found it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. You don't have to bike in the rain if you don't want to also. You can also bond with your friends over a rough commute and laugh about it together. So Those are all some tips. Here's some last pro tips. Wear reflective gear and lights. I know it's getting lighter out for more of the day, but it's still, you still might be commuting in the dark, and especially with the rain, it's hard to see, so make sure you're visible with reflective stuff and lights. I found that a baseball cap underneath my hood helps keep rain off my face and off my glasses, and that's one of my favorite tips. Be prepared. So I like to keep some light rain gear, some lights, and a book in my backpack, so that way if I get held up somewhere or it starts raining and I didn't anticipate it or anything like that, I'm prepared. Or if I have my book if I just want to hang out somewhere and wait for the rain to stop. That's always nice. And find ways to make your commute fun. You can say every Tuesday or whatever, treat yourself to dinner or drinks on your bike ride home. If you have your team for the challenge, you could have team happy hours or something. Meet a friend somewhere walkable, things like that. So you can make it more pleasant than maybe you thought it would be. All right, now I want to talk about employee engagement, and I do want to hear from all of you if you have some good strategies. And while you think about that, I have a few tips that I thought of. So you can do something like a commuter breakfast. So maybe the first day of the challenge, or every Friday or something, have some treats set up for people who get to work via active modes. You can put some freebies in locker rooms or bike parking if you have things like that. We've hung prizes on all the bikes in a bike locker before. That's kind of fun. So you get back to your bike and you see, oh, I have a new water bottle or a light or something. You can host some commuter workshops, which we are happy to lead workshops at your site. We've done it before, so just let me know. And also tabling at health and wellness fairs. We've been doing a bunch of those this week because it's Earth Week. So we can give out some useful, lights and reflective stuff, and, talk to people about their commute if they want some advice. We also offer one-on-one commute planning, so you can refer your employees to us if they want help figuring out their new commute route. Like I say, you could have a team happy hour, let's all go out for drinks after work, and then bike home or something. One idea that I think would be cool if you gathered quotes and photos from participants at your site and then publicize that, so that not only creates a positive norm because people will be seeing all the people that do have active commutes, and also if they know them, you trust people you already know, so you can see oh, I know them, they bike to work, maybe I'll talk to them about biking to work. So anyway, does anybody else have anything that works for them? You can put it in the chat. I think you can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself. Great to hear.
I was going to say, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I guess what worked for me, and this we're talking about 5-ish years ago, was just being in traffic and being stuck on 26, for a few days, and then realizing there must be another option, and then kind of just how about I bike one day a week, and then that turned into 2, 3, 4, and 5 very, very quickly, and always having that consistency of the commute is the same amount every day, and I'm doing something healthy, and it just goes on from there. It just kind of snowballs, and so all the things with the other motivators aren't really the almost don't need them. Once, like you're saying, is once you get into that pattern, a couple of months in, that kind of joy is just from doing it, and being out there. Like you're saying, it's all the tough part is all the prep beforehand, is getting up and gearing up. But once you're out on the bike, or you're running, or you're roller skating, whatever, everything else just kind of goes out the window. As long as those vehicular things don't pay attention.
So great. I love the start one day a week. We try and encourage that too. It's just one day. I don't have to do it every day. and try it. And then, like you say, like once you're out, you're like, oh, why don't I do this more often? Because hopefully it goes well. That's great. Anybody else? If not, it's totally fine. Okay. Well, hopefully some of the strategies we talked about before sparked some ideas in your mind. And if you think of anything that you want people to know about, feel free to tell me. I'm always looking for new ideas. So let me know if you think of anything later. So actually, this last thing I have, we're almost done, unless you guys have questions. But like I say, we can help with any of this. That's why we're here. We can do one-on-one consultations. We can help with group planning. We have free resources. We have this great, not new anymore, it's a few years old, but we have a page called the Commuter's Guide to Bike and Pedestrian Safety. And so this has all sorts of resources and videos and stuff on bicycle and pedestrian safety. So we got some tips. We've got maps. There's maps of the metro region and different cities if they have online maps. One of my favorite things is there's a video on how to put your bike on a bus, on a TriMet bus, because that can be intimidating. I had to watch a video beforehand because I don't want to be that person trying to figure it out, and holding everybody up. I know, it's very intimidating. So, there's a video on it. It's actually not that bad once you do it once. So definitely check that out.
I think there might be a practice one down at Pioneer Square inside the TriMet office. They
Oh,
might
nice.
still have a practice one down there.
That's good to know. Also, if you live in Portland, there's one at the Community Cycling Center on Alberta. And there's probably more kicking around somewhere. I should find out. Yeah. Anybody have any questions, other ideas? Here's my contact info if you want to email me anytime.
I put some questions on the sign up. Did you? Those kind of. I don't know if other people did the same thing.
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me. Do you want to? I did look at them.
Generally, I guess the wheel you had kind of answered some of those. I guess going along that same path is there's, in my experience, is you have different motivating factors for young people. And both young people that are just kind of starting out, and then maybe haven't cycled a lot, or they're just young in particular, don't have a car, or maybe cars are expensive and gas is expensive, and it's easier to get them to think about other alternatives. But once you get to a different age and you have more, you're paid well, and a car is easier to afford, and gas isn't that big a deal at $5 a gallon, and so on and so forth. The motivating factors change, and or the carrots and the sticks, mean different things or have different weight to them. Is how do you encourage different people? I mean, whether that's a WTA or us as corporate partners, is how do you suggest getting people to consider things like that? Whether that be through eye-opening data, because I was putting out like CDC is the highest causes of death in the United States, and the number one is heart disease, and it's like, if we did more exercise, maybe you wouldn't have a heart disease. And number three was auto mishaps. So people dying just because they're in cars and hitting other people in cars, and so on and so forth. And it's not cyclists, and it's not pedestrians, and we just get hit by cars. You don't, you're not doing it on your own. It's those kind of, if you'd call that a stick, or if you'd call that a motivating data, how do you share that with large groups of people and go like, here it is, people. Here's the data. How are you going to use that to better yourself and others, and so on and so forth? I don't know.
Yeah, I think those are all good points, and I think it's hard because, like you say, there's so many different motivators out there, and everyone's different, and so that's why we try and encourage options. So we're not telling you to do a certain thing, just try something out and see what works for you. And then we try and use different prizes, instead of giving away just a coffee card, we'll give you a link to this website where you can pick your own gift card. And we should, if you all have ideas for future workshops, let me know. But something I'm thinking of is a whole workshop on behavior change because it's so complicated and it's so interesting. And we did one, I think in 2019, but a while ago now. But you get kind of conflicting advice because in marketing you want to make people remember something, you want to concentrate on like one thing, which is hard to do when, like you say, like people are motivated by different things. And so I think, keeping things simple, keeping the message simple, just like, get active and log your trip, and like that's it. And you can win prizes. If you hear my cat yelling, she's fine. She just likes to yell. And and also like in terms of messaging, we try and keep it positive. Because number one, that's kind of our branding, is we want to help you out and keep things positive and not like shame people. And I believe the research shows that like doom and gloom stuff, it might work for some people, but for most people, it just kind of like stops them from acting. It's like, well, everything's terrible, I can't do anything. So instead, you can like point to like, a positive thing, or I mentioned norming before, like instead of saying something like, 75%, I'm totally making this up, this is not true, 75% of people, do the thing you don't want them to do. Say something like, oh, a lot of us are already doing it, keep it up. Keeping it positive tends to work better than negative. Yeah, so it's a whole subject that is complicated but interesting.
I guess I got a couple of questions. Maybe Cassie, one of my coworkers has asked before, since she's on the WTA board or something like that. Have you guys ever thought about partnering with Strava or using Strava as a tool instead of going out to other, and then just adding it as one of the monthly challenges as part of Strava, where the WTA bike more or whatever morgue is just one of those things. So all those tools are kind of in place, and if people are already using that app, or is that cost prohibitive, or blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pause my screen share real quick. I don't really need it anymore. So this Get There platform is something that the state has funded, and so we're all trying to use like kind of the same thing instead of everyone using something different. But Strava connects to Get There. You can like hook up your Strava and connect it to your account. So that's something. It doesn't, to be honest, it doesn't always work right. They're working on it, but yeah, this is a platform that we didn't come up with, but we do use it, and we get funding in order to use it.
Sure. I remember I passed. I think it's when you've come by for one of those breakfast meetups, at our business, and I mentioned it's like, because once you get into a point where you're a person who does bike all the time, or find other methods other than a car, then the smaller motivations, are things you want to give away to other people, things you want to do with like new people. It's helpful for them to be motivated, but you as an everyday or many times a week, it doesn't have the same the carrot level. So for me, I use Strava as almost as a helpful motivator for other people. They're going like, oh, Andrew's out there 7 days a week, maybe I could do 2, or I could do 1, or things like that. And it's and also other people that do get out there many days a week. It's kind of a peer-to-peer, like, hey, we're all doing it. We need to get out today because these other 17 people got out today, and that kind of pathway. But I don't know if the one that the state of Oregon or ODOT or whatever has provided for, does it give you that same peer-to-peer kind of like encouragement or way to share with others if people don't like, I would say people don't like to share.
Yeah, I think they do try. There's leaderboards, so there will be a leaderboard for this challenge where you can see, hopefully, individuals and teams who are doing the most. It's not the same. You probably remember Love to Ride, and I think that had more of a feed. I don't think this one has a feed like Strava probably has that, or Love Tribe did. But they're
Yeah,
always changing it, though.
because it only had totals, and you didn't know if somebody was inside or outside, and all you saw was a total, like this person did, and I don't know. Like I said, it was always a good for early adopters. It's like once you get into that pathway of time and doing it more regularly for yourself, then it's almost like you don't need something like that unless you're trying to use it to motivate others or motivate coworkers or or things like that. So I had another question. I'll have to keep trying to think.
Yeah, I feel like a way to do that. I mean, yeah, like I say, Strava can connect to it, and Strava's great. I feel like for folks who maybe aren't online or aren't logging things, I feel like kind of an analog way to do that might be like a bulletin board or something that says like, how'd you get to work today? Or like, did you use an active transportation? And like you can see people who did it, like maybe with like a push board or something. I feel like there's quite a few ways to do that. It's a good idea.
Also, another thing is, has the WTA kind of like, is there some sort of partnering with the different cities on the west side, or neighborhoods in a sense, like Beaverton, Hillsborough, Tigard, so on and so forth, about improving the pathways for people who are doing it, not in a car, because typically it seems like at least for me, is at the times I'm out here, all the painted bike lanes are only on the roads that the speed limit is like 45 plus miles an hour. And I could see where early people as adopters, especially if they've grown up in an area where there were no sidewalks and they were driven everywhere to school and every other event, that it's a little scary. And so it probably hinders some of those people trying it out at 20 years old if it's the first time they've ever been in their neighborhood and not in a car. I don't know, just as an idea. I don't know what putting down more pylons or cement turtles. I don't know. Yeah. It's probably
I would love that. So we do have, some of our members are, like the county is a member, and like Beaverton, Hillsborough, all the cities are members, and so we like have discussions about like what we hear from people with them. We ourselves, WTA, is not like a planning, we don't do like infrastructure planning, whatever. We do like pass on our feedback to those who do have that power. And we do like, sometimes there's requests for funding from the government that will like put in a letter of support for things like that. So, we can pass it on. We, like I say, we don't do infrastructure ourselves, and we're 2.5 people right now, so we do our best. But yeah,
but
do
your
try to
name and your corporate partners though do carry some weight
Definitely.
with people that you can speak to upstream and downstream, and just say, hey, we have this many thousand people that use this every month, and we could probably get more, and this is what they hear from their own coworkers who don't do it as much, that they may consider being out and not driving as much if it was safe, if they felt safer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Anyone else have any more questions, comments, ideas?
No, this was super helpful though, Caitlin. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So thanks everybody for joining. Like I said, I'll send out the recording and the slides after this, and May is coming right up. So if you want to chat about ideas for your workplace, if you want to like plan any workshops or tabling or anything like that, if you want us to be like on site for a breakfast or anything, just let me know, and we're happy to do it. And hopefully the weather will clear up. I see warmer, sunnier weather at the end of my forecast, but I'll see it. I'll trust it when I see it. So cross your fingers for better weather.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.